Welcome to Small Talk with RainKraft. I'm Subha, a leadership and executive coach.
And I'm Hasita, a marketing strategist.
We're just two people who love to talk
and love to learn.
And this is us being curious about the world around us.
Join us.
Hey there, Small Talkers. Good to have you back. Today we have Nandita Iyer, better known as Saffrontrail. Nandita is a food blogger, a columnist for publications like The Mint Lounge, BBC Good Food, and many more, and also the author of 3 amazing books. Her latest one is This Handmade Life, which talks about 7 skills that can really transform your everyday life and how making things with your hands really is so wonderful for each of us. Nandita and I met way back in 2009. When making friends on Twitter was actually a thing. I've loved watching her journey over the years as she has built her brand online and also shared her new interests as and when they've come along, be it gardening, home decor, Hindustani classical music, and so much more in such an authentic and genuine fashion. She's grown her followership on social media in a beautifully organic way, and I think there's lots for us to learn from that. So why don't you join us? Hi Nandita, welcome to Small Talk. So happy to have you here.
Hi Subha, great to reconnect after so many years and it's good to be here.
Yes. Nandita and I met when we were still making real friends on Twitter, I think. The good old days.
Yeah.
So I connected with her when I was in Gurgaon and loved to read her posts and her tweets. And then she was kind enough to meet and give me a lot of good advice when I stepped out of corporate and started on my own. So really looking forward to this chat today. Nandita, what strikes me when I look at your journey, you're a doctor by training, a lot of academic work in nutrition, and then a completely different kind of career, right? Blogging, cooking, writing. What brought it all together? What makes it joyful for you?
I get asked this question a lot and yet I don't think I have the right answers. But I think one key element in all aspects of my life is I don't plan too much. I'm someone who goes with the flow. And if on a particular day or at a particular moment, I feel like this is the right thing for me to do, I just go with that and I don't overanalyze big decisions much to my own shock. I overanalyze the little things on what do I wear today or what do I cook today. But big things like buying a house or changing a career or doing something absolutely drastic, I don't think too much on that. So it's as silly and stupid as it may sound, I think that's how I've been living my life so far. Because I feel like there is no point in analyzing too much about whether I should start writing, what will happen to my medicine that I've studied, or if I go into music now, what will happen to my writing. I think at each point in life, you have to do something that makes you happy and gives you the satisfaction and fulfillment. And I think that's how I pursue everything in my life. So I don't have any answers on why I took this decision because I myself don't know.
Interesting. And I think in the last couple of years with the pandemic, a lot of us are slowly gravitating to that mindset that just take it as it comes and not overthink too many things.
Because, I think also overthinking will not lead us to anything. I understand like if you're starting a company and all that, it makes sense to do a SWOT analysis and find out if, what's going to be the benefit or are you going to lose something. But I think for everything in life, you can't do that. And it may not necessarily give you the answer that is actually going to happen. Things take their own course and you can never predict such ththings. So it's best to do things in the moment and be in the moment and do what you think right now is good for you.
Interesting. And I know that, you share a lot of different interests of yours online. And your most popular avatar, if I may say, is probably Saffrontrail, the name of your blog, and most known as a food blogger. But there is so much else that you do. And there's a lot of writing that you do, right? Freelance writing There's your newsletter, lovely newsletter with on slow living and food. I see posts on gardening, home decor. And I get that, there's no really long-term planning. But how do you divide your time? What helps you decide what's going to be the focus for even, let's say, today or the next few days? Or how do I grow each of these?
So when it comes to focus, clearly what has a very strict deadline, like a book submission of something, or I have to submit my column, which is like an ironclad deadline. Of course, those things need my immediate attention and I would like to get it out of my way first. But even today, after like 16 years of being a blogger and many years of being a freelance writer and columnist, I think the best writing comes out only on the day of the deadline, no matter how much you plan and you tell yourself next time I'm not going to send on the last day, but that's how it happens. And I think you write best under pressure. At least I should be speaking for myself. And I know many writer friends who will agree with me that nothing comes out like when there's an axe on your neck and you're like, you have to give it right now. And that's when all the best ideas will flow very fast and there's no chance of a writer's block because there's no option. You just have to submit. You can't just say that I'm having a writer's block today, so no column next week. You can't do that. So so that's the first thing I like to do. And all my entire social media, I just do it as I please. I have no calendar for that. My tweets are usually a stream of consciousness. Of course, I edit myself a lot these days because I don't like to get into trouble and with all this rampant cancel culture and people trolling you. Early days, I used to tweet exactly the things that come to my mind. I don't do that anymore. But otherwise, it's like I see something nice in my garden or I cooked a nice dish or I read a good book or I listened to a good song. And I will not time that or put it in the calendar. I just tweet it as it comes to me. And even things like Instagram, there are people who plan their whole feed and calendar and this post and that post. I tried that and it lasted for all of some 2 days and I don't think I can follow that kind of Instagram is not my life. What happens in my life, sometimes I post it on Instagram. It's the other way around. So again, that it's very spontaneous. Even the reels, I sit in my garden, I make it instantly and I post it. I'm not going to sit and download some fancy editing software and then do all that. It's just very spontaneous. While some people like it, but also because I'm so spontaneous and I'm not so regular, I don't get that much engagement or follower growth, etc. But I'm okay with that because I can't stress myself out over everything like social media, which is not really my bread and butter. I would never want a scene where that's what is my entire life depends on that. Then every day the algorithm changes. It's going to be extremely stressful for me. So I'm not bothered about that. And my blog, because of my books and my column and my newsletter, there's only so much writing one can do. So it definitely took the backseat, and for like almost a few years, I've been very erratic on my blog. But I also realized that between Instagram and blog, now I realize I'd rather post on my blog because it's searchable, it's permanent content. Unlike Instagram, it's not so fleeting that you cannot go back and search that recipe ever again. And people can come back to it at any time. So I have decided at least a few posts I will start writing on my blog now. Because even the newsletter is not really searchable. It goes out on email. And while it is there on the web, it's not exactly like if someone's looking for a recipe which I've posted in my newsletter, it will not really come up on search. So I thought that why not I pick out some few interesting things and post it on my blog. So I'm trying to prioritize that and get back to blogging because I have a good number of audience coming there every day. And even things like giving my own book link when like 75,000 odd people are visiting my blog in a month, then why should I lose out on that audience to even share my latest book or whatever? It's like a huge captive audience where I'm losing out if I don't post regularly. So blog is one thing. And then in the last 5-6 years, I have taken up Hindustani classical music quite seriously. I learned from 2 teachers and I try to practice every day. So that is also quite important to me. Like it's kind of non-negotiable that I will, and there is no deadline for that. I'm not really trying to start performing on stage or anything, but it's for my own self-improvement that I want to some time for it every day and make sure I practice. But sometimes things like proper work deadlines, you often feel guilty that I shouldn't be sitting and doing my music when I have a deadline to attend to. So sometimes I have to keep juggling that, okay, let me finish what has to be finished first and then I will get to music, because I'm my own deadline. So I don't have to work for somebody on this. So music is one thing. And of course, cooking I do every day. It's a 99% chore and 1% sometimes it's inspiration, which is why I feel like I've been...
It seems like the other way, I must admit.
No, but that the 1% is what comes on the social media. The 99% of the boring stuff you don't get to see. And in fact, sometimes it gets so boring that I feel I will entirely shift my focus to music now, because that's what makes me happier. Cooking is like, okay, what am I going to cook and what am I going to eat? It just becomes too boring and laborious. And it's not so joyful anymore, I feel sometimes. So yeah, these are the things that's going on in my life. See, like I said, what you see on social media is very much an extension of my day or what I do at home, because things like home decor, I like to keep juggling around my furniture, the plants and everything. So on a day I feel like, okay, things look good and they don't look so cluttered, I like to post a picture, but that's not how my house looks all the time. So it's like everybody has said this many times, that what you see on social media is just like the cover of a book and it's not the book. So you can't assume that everything in my life is perfect, or I cook the best food, or I keep the best home, or that's all. It's just the tip of the iceberg.
And a few things that you said, no, it's interesting. Like the way you have grown your identity as Saffrontrail food blogger, author, has been very organic, right? So I think, and that's what brings a lot of us to your profile on various platforms, because we don't expect to see very curated and planned feed, right? We know that there'll be something where you're sharing some home decor, suddenly there's garden, and then you're singing. So there's a lovely mix of it, and there's a nice unpredictability to all of it. But a lot of creators I see do struggle to kind of bring that real self online. I think there's second guessing, there's trying to play to the algorithm, and then there's a huge amount of kind of imposter syndrome, right? How can I go and sing there, or how can I go and put out something that I did? So how do those who are maybe generally shy or introverted, or many times I hear youngsters say to me, I don't have a way with words, and a lot of being on platforms seems to be kind of a play on words or saying it well. So how can we make it easier, like some of us who struggle with that?
Yeah, this is a very thought-provoking question. And like I said, what you see on social media is just such a tiny part of me, because I feel like 90% of me is just imposter syndrome. And 99% of me is just second guessing myself all the time. In fact, my YouTube videos, which are already online, I will absolutely not play them or watch them again. I will not watch them at all. When the people who shoot it for me ask me to put some important health related captions and all, I will run through it very quickly, because I don't want to see myself, or I don't want to hear myself talk. It's like, even when I want to capture the link of that YouTube video, I will quickly copy paste it before it starts playing. Or if an ad starts playing before that, I'll be very thankful that, oh God, I don't have to see myself in this. It's not to be very funny and try to say that I'm like this, but I just want to give some inspiration to people, that even the people who you think are the most confident online and who put out their work fearlessly, they are battling this all the time. And especially women, I would like to think, because I see a lot of men who will even explain our gynecological problems to us on Twitter when they don't know the G of gynecology. And that's another level of confidence which men have. A lot of men seem to have. or explaining a topic where they have never entered and done something, but they will explain it to you like they are the encyclopedia of that. I think we could all take like one page out of their book and get that kind of inspiration to be confident. But jokes apart, I think it's just the question of practice. And the first time you put yourself out there, you'll feel stupid. Like I started my Twitter account in 2009, and it was not until 2010 or 11 that I posted my first tweet. So I feel like, you feel, what will I tweet? Who's there to read? What am I going to say? But I think once you start, then you're unstoppable. Then you have to tell yourself, hello, stop tweeting so much, So I feel like it's about just doing it without, it's like they say in a dance, like no one's watching. You should just do what you're doing and not bother. And eventually you will also get better because you're doing something. And your fear of putting things out there will also reduce day by day, and it will eventually go away. So, and also there's something that everybody is good at. And I think today's internet world, there are so many avenues that I know people who are not writers at all, but they just do silly jigs and dances on Instagram and they get millions of followers. And here we are painfully writing every post and we are losing 100 followers every day. So I think there is a scope for everybody to do something that they are good at. And they should at least find out the 1-2 things you're good at and combine that and start putting out your work. Because I don't believe that for everything you need writing. In fact, nobody's there to read. Now we are like begging people, please read what I'm writing. So I think writing and reading, forget about it. Even if you're good at a dance or you're good at drawing or you're good at something or you're good at just making memes or finding out these funny Tamil comedy memes or something Bollywood, I'm sure everybody's good at one thing and even like slightly good. And once you start doing that, you'll only get better. So find out that one thing you're good at and then just don't bother and just start posting. And trust me, everyone, like I'm sure even if you go and talk to the top Bollywood actor or someone who's won a Booker Prize, they'll all tell you that they have imposter syndrome. They're second guessing themselves and they don't look back at their work. I hate to open my book and see what I've written. Of course, I like a few paragraphs and I know I have done well in those. So I will open that. But and sometimes I will listen to a song that I've sung. If not anything, only to be critical and see how could I have done this better. But I'm not afraid of a few things, but I'm very afraid of going back and checking out some of my work. And even today when I write or I do something, I always ask myself, am I going to be embarrassed about this after 10 years when I go back and read it? Because everything is away. Internet archives everything and you are not losing anything. So dance like no one's watching is very scary because you don't want to be captured and put on the internet, but the rest of the things you can do it, and I think you can be confident a little by little and get better at it.
I know that's both reassuring and inspiring because I think it's really don't aim to be perfect and do start with that one thing you're good at and just keep building on it. And there's an audience, like you said, there's an audience for almost every kind of content there today. In a way, it is a struggle to push written content. One of the reasons even I moved to podcast, and I found that generally I enjoy audio a lot more than video, and it's a lot easier medium for me to create, and discovered it on my own in a way. So you're right, we just have to make the transition or make an attempt. But you've got 3 books out now, Nandita, on vegetarian recipes, superfoods, and now a lovely collection of just handmade things you can do with your hands, right? And I know that was a pandemic project in a way. But how much do you need to consume content to create? I mean, is it all just from your own experiences, or does the act of writing and publishing involve a lot of research and consuming a lot of content?
It definitely depends on the type of book you're writing. See, something like a cookbook, and especially if it's something out of my own creativity and my niche, then I know what I'm doing and I just have to try out different combinations, see what works, what is a little easier, what takes lesser time, what takes fewer ingredients, what comes out tastier. These are all my criteria when I want to put something in a cookbook. Now, when I'm looking at something more nutrition-centric like superfoods, I have to check out more of the research, current research, because I have not just written that, okay, spinach, so anti-cancer, anti-this. I'm trying to give references for each, and has some study been done, or how is this proven? So for that, I need to go through different kinds of medical journals or nutrition journals, etc., published papers, or these peer-reviewed journals, etc. So that's a different kind of reading. Obviously, I'm not going to read Wikipedia or some random other websites, because I want a little more solid backing for the claims that I'm making in my book. And for this handmade life, I've purely chosen things out of my own experiences. But when you're writing a book, the difference between a blog and a book is that in a blog, I can make a claim that when I do crochet, it's superbly calming, and I feel like it's meditative and it's so good for mental health. But I can't make such a blanket statement in a book. So I have to quote a couple of, articles from good sources or some research or something. So that's the difference between just writing for yourself and writing in a book, is that when you make a claim, you want to be, while we all know that is true, everyone feels calm when they do something with their hands, but it's just not enough that I feel it so, or I want to say that. It's good to have some external high-level validation, or good quality validation to this fact. So those are the little things that I had to read up to kind of bolster the claims that I was making in the book. But otherwise, the experiments, the projects, my personal stories, that's all just me, and I didn't really have to research. And of course, in each chapter, I ended up speaking to an expert. So I also get, like, the whole book is not just I, me, and myself, and I'm trying to include some other people and their journey and their experiences in each chapter. So that's why the idea of including some other experts or people who are into these hobbies very seriously. But otherwise, this kind of book is more of a memoir, and it's more like my experience. And because I would have loved to include things like pottery and woodworking and all that, but I've never done that in my life. And I would love to learn that in future. But since I've not done it, I thought that it won't sound convincing enough. How can I write about something and ask people to do something which I have not done myself, right? So I had to leave out those things, and I only included the things that I have done. And I think anyone who reads the book will get that personal connect coming from me, that this is how I got into it, this is how I've done it, these are the mistakes I made, and these are the problems I faced. The most important thing that I wanted to convey in this kind of book is that, again, don't run after perfection. The first bar of soap, you're not going to sell it on some artisanal shopping site for 500 rupees. If it doesn't work at all, you can use it to wash your dishes. So let's not run after perfection in every project, and let that not keep us from doing things with our hands. Because the essence of handmade is imperfection. That's what makes it beautiful. If you see a lot of these hand-printed or hand-dyed fabrics and clothes online, they will say that expect some imperfections because each piece is unique and it's been made. It's not factory made that everything will be the exact copy of each other. So I think that is the beauty of handmade, and it helps if we accept that generally in our life, that things will be imperfect and that's okay.
No, I really love the thread I'm seeing, like, just doing what you enjoy in that moment, and when out of that comes a blog or an Insta post or a book. But I love the authenticity that you bring into everything that you do. Like the example you gave, I think it's very tempting to add pottery and add woodwork and add 5 other things which maybe will interest a slightly larger audience or pull in some more people, because it's like the 30 things you can do rather than the 6 or 7 things you really did and enjoyed doing. But today, more and more, we're all seeking that authenticity and who's real and who can we really connect with, and I think this does it, the book does it beautifully.
Thank you.
Like I said, a lot of people today are part of this gig economy and trying to be out there and create their own personal brand and be online. I also see many youngsters just fresh out of college go into that freelance mode. Maybe because I had a very strong corporate grounding before I started doing something on my own, and maybe a slightly traditional view that I hold. But there was a lot of value in being surrounded by people smarter than you in an office place, learning the discipline from experts, meeting good bosses, bad colleagues, able to understand all of that ethos. What is your view or advice to those who just start out or are trying to grow a freelance business at a very young, nascent stage?
I think because I also think that I'm also a 70s kid and far from a millennial. So I feel like even I have pretty traditional thoughts on that. It's good to learn the ropes surrounded by people who have more experience and who have worked in the field for much longer than you have. Because I think a lot of these things you learn by just being there and not out of a YouTube or in college. Nobody learns anything of use, I think, in any of these degrees and courses. So when you come to work and in that atmosphere, you end up learning from a lot of people. I think all of it somewhere, and you're not going to work thinking that I'm going to learn something today. I think you just absorb things like a sponge without your own knowledge. And somewhere when after a few years, when you're doing something, certain qualities will help plug those leaks or will help you in those situations, just unknown to yourself. So I do feel it helps, but to be honest, I can't make a statement on this because I have not been in a space where I got out of college and was managing my own work or I was freelancing. So I don't really know how that works for them, or maybe because it's like they're just straight thrown into the water and fending for themselves. They develop some other qualities that make up for not being in an office traditional workspace. They get to be their own PR person, their own finance person, their own marketing person, and they just develop mad overall kind of skills. And I feel if such a person then goes to a traditional workspace, they bring a lot to the table because they literally know something about everything, which I think in a workspace, you tend to be very focused that this is my job and I have to do only this. But as a freelancer and from my current experience, like I need to know what is GST, I need to know how to write a pitch about providing my own service to somebody, or I need to know how to negotiate a deal. So many things, right? Which I've studied medicine, for God's sake. They have not taught us anything about anything in all these matters. But how did I learn this? So I'm being on the journey and not even like watching or reading something, just by living the experience. And my husband is a finance professional, but I get no such advice or anything from him. This is all just my own learning, because he will know nothing about a freelancer life, or they are into like big corporate monies and all that, right? So I think there are two different paths, and I'm sure some people go from one path to the other. Some people are on one path from the beginning. It's very difficult to say if one is better than the other. Both have their own merits and demerits.
No, your perspectives were interesting, and I think it's making me also think again, because one, they do add a lot of value if at some point they're building a larger business or go back to corporate, and it does make you do a lot of things at the same time, right? You, in a very traditional role, you put yourself in a silo and maybe you just have to go in and write every day. You don't have to worry about the reach. You don't have to worry about the marketing. You don't have to worry about so many things. So yeah, it is definitely two sides of a coin, and just wanted to get your views on. I'd like to wrap with asking you some things that are a little memorable or funny from your experiences. I know as bloggers, you get a lot of requests from brands and PR agencies, etc. What's been the weirdest ask till date?
There have been quite a few, but something that's on top of mind and something I can just recall offhand is a campaign for a cell phone. They wanted us to post some pictures, like food pictures taken from the cell phone on our Instagram. And it was going on and on, like they were not happy with the stuff that was coming out from me. when they were like reviewing it before posting, etc. And I was like making different desserts, different dishes and all. Finally, I got like fed up. I said, I can't keep on making stuff. So I started buying stuff from like fancy bakeries and patisseries, saying, okay, at least maybe this thing will photograph good, okay? And I was like still taking pictures and sending it to them. They were still not happy. I said, look, this is nothing to do with me or my photo taking techniques or the dish. This phone's camera is just not good enough. At that point, I was using like the newest iPhone for my photos on the Instagram and everything. So it's not like that. I said, yeah, this is not the iPhone. Obviously, you can't expect that it will be like that. And they said, no, so you take pictures with your iPhone only and then you post it that it's this. I said, sorry, our deal ends right here. I am not doing any such thing. I cannot, it's an insult to the iPhone. It's an insult to my integrity and to your own, brand. And so it was like the PR for a famous phone brand. And I said, sorry, this is just not done.
The irony of it all is like...
They were promoting the phone for its camera itself, which was not good enough. And expecting me to post content from the latest iPhone and then pass it off at this. In the metadata, if you go and check that extra data, it will clearly say which phone that photo was taken from, right? Or which camera. So it's crazy that people can come up with such idiotic ideas.
What's the funniest thing that's gone wrong when, shooting your videos or maybe even some post that you put up? Like what had you or the audience in splits?
Not really splits, but I think I can't recall anything that funny right now. But something that was kind of shocking or surprising was that someone I knew on Instagram, she was doing some sponsored branded content for a milk brand and she had posted something. And I just left some innocuous comment on her post. And as a fellow content creator, I always try to like or appreciate a content post, a branded post, because typically any branded post, the engagement tanks, especially if you disclose everything ethically, that this is the paid partnership, blah, blah. The views and the likes and the comments just drop. So if someone has properly disclosed this, I try to leave a comment for them saying, at least it helps them say that, okay, this post did decently well, my tiny contribution for that, right? So I just left some very innocuous, innocent comment. And you won't believe it that post got massively trolled by the vegans. And because of my absolutely innocuous comment, they came and trolled me also on my profile. I thought I didn't realize that just leaving a comment on someone's post would get me in the gunfire, like a shootout kind of thing. So that was quite funny. So now I even think about when I'm leaving a comment, I think, is there any chance of me getting shot over this? And I try to be careful.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think like you said earlier on, that cancel culture weighs heavily on our mind nowadays. Like, What am I saying? And if you do truly speak your mind, there is somebody somewhere who will get offended because each of us have different thoughts, ideas, and we have to be more and more careful.
Like taking offense has become a national pastime. So I would rather not get into that and get caught.
Lovely, Nandita. So much fun chatting with you. I've been looking forward to this for a while. Thank you for taking out the time, and all your book details and your blog and everything I'll put into show notes because I know folks would love to take a look if they already haven't, because I think Saffrontrail is a very well-known name now in the food and writing space.
Thank you so much, Subha, and lovely chatting. And it just goes to show that old Twitter friends, like we can just reconnect and take off, and we feel like we were never out of touch. So lovely talking to you as well. Thanks for featuring me in your podcast.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, small talkers. Thank you for listening till the very end. We love bringing these episodes to you, and we hope you enjoy them too. Please do drop in your comments, likes, shares, reviews, whatever you can do on the platform that you're on to help us reach a larger and larger audience. And that would really make our day. You can find out more about today's guest or today's episode in the show notes. All the details and how you can find us on social media is right there. Thank you, and see you next time. Bye.